Michelle Hardwick is a British actress best known for her work in The Royal and Emmerdale, one of the UK's best-loved soaps, getting millions of viewers weekly. She's also appeared in Hollyoaks, Heartbeat and Coronation Street. After coming out publicly in 2013, she has never been afraid to show who she is to the world. A talented actress, often a firm favourite amongst viewers. She was especially funny as Lizzie in The Royal and has been a much-loved character in Emmerdale for nearly a decade. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Hello, thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. I'm so delighted to chat to you. We've already talked about the fact that you've got some excellent wardrobes behind you. I love doing these on Zoom because you really get to have a nose around one room of someone else's house.
I didn't even realise really because I've not really done any work Zooms because obviously I've just been at home and I can't really do my work from Zoom. Although I say that, I did do a couple of scenes actually before I gave birth. It was about last August, September, but I went up into our bedroom. This is the guest bedroom.
So what, you just filmed them on Zoom, like doing an awful self-tape?
Yeah, honestly. So I had like the iPad, it was balancing on, so I got some step ladders, so it was at the right height, making sure I had some sort of lighting. I did about 3 or 4 scenes, so it was a couple of episodes, but I was heavily pregnant at the time. So I had to make sure it was literally just like under my chin. Otherwise it looked ridiculous. And my character was a mum's, yeah.
So she was just like calling in?
Yeah.
That's great. I love that. Yeah. I love that. Nice to stay involved. Nice to keep your hand in.
Do you know what I mean? Need to keep Vanessa there spoken about.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, you need to make sure that returns as smooth as possible.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
We were just saying before we started recording that you've had a baby in lockdown, which must have been a strange experience.
Yeah, really, because I mean, obviously we started our IVF journey before the pandemic struck you, so we had no idea. And then I remember I came home I knew I was pregnant, but we'd not announced it because it was still early days. And I came home from work, it was March, and my wife Kate just said, "Have you seen the news? Have you seen Boris's announcement?" And I was like, "Oh gosh, no, what?" And she said, she went, "You won't be going back to work." I was like, "Whatever." And she said, "Well, initially it was for 12 weeks. I was like, "But I've got a few scenes tomorrow that are quite important." And she's like, "No, we're going to have to sort of rewrite, stories or whatever." And it was like, oh my goodness. And I've not been back since, because then I just wasn't allowed back in the building because I was pregnant. So yeah, then having a baby on the 9th of October, it's been weirdly wonderful in a very strange way, because it's just been our little lockdown Teddy bubble, because we call him Teddy, and it has just been beautiful. The downside obviously is my brother, Kate's brothers, they've not been able to properly meet him and hold him, and oh, that's sad, because it's 5 months now.
Yeah, that's hard.
It's really hard. It is really hard. But, we are just trying to look at the positives and stay positive and say, but look at that beautiful time that we had. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's your only choice, isn't it? If you don't laugh, you cry. That's what's going on. You're based up north. Are you based in Yorkshire?
Yes, Leeds. Yeah.
And that's where you grew up?
That's right, yeah. So, my wife always laughs because she says, "You've never really moved far." But I said, well, how with my jobs? I've travelled all over. When I was especially doing theatre, I've worked in America, Brazil, Poland, Germany.
Cool.
I've gone everywhere. Yeah, doing Shakespeare. I'll have
Brilliant. What sort of stuff was that? Well, like, when was that?
Gosh, that was back in 1996. I'm really showing my age now. So 96. Yeah.
So you were 12. Wow, you were doing Shakespeare at 12. Yeah.
Yeah, I was. So I can go further back than that. My first professional job was 1993 down at the Royal Court in London. So I was 17 years old.
Oh, wow.
Living life in London. My mum and dad were having a fit. Yeah.
I bet. So did you grow up always acting then?
Yeah, done drama clubs, done the local like church hall pantomimes every year, which I absolutely loved. And I just loved being on stage and I suppose showing off in a way. It's weird because I was quite shy when I was really little. Well, I say that I was probably 8 when I found myself, really, and then I joined a Shakespeare group, Northern Broadsides, in 96. And that's when I played Juliet in Romeo and Juliet for 2 years. And we did Germany. Brazil was Midsummer Night's Dream. And then we did Broadway, we went to Connecticut, in New York. It was amazing. Really, really fantastic.
Do you still know Gallop a Pace? Do you still know the monologue?
No, but I remember, no, I honestly, because, and you know why I don't now? Because of Emmerdale. Because you retrain your brain how to learn lines and get rid of them. When you're doing the theatre, you've just got to you've got to retain the whole play.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're doing Emmerdale, you've got 9 scenes to learn maybe for the next day. And then you do them, you come home, you've got to get rid of all them in your brain and learn another 9. So any other words that I've ever had in my life, they've just all gone to make room for Emmerdale.
Yeah, I've got friends that have done soaps, and they say, like, the people that are on the soap every week, you know, the characters are always on it. He was saying to me, like, he's never seen like people learning lines so quickly. He was just like, there was one scene where like someone like messed up something and then they went back on it and then they just like looked at it once and was just like, yep, got it in one. Like, you just get so good at...
You have to, because you've got no choice, because it is so fast. And there are people that, like you say, have got those like photographic memories. I got it to a degree, but not as much. I think the older I'm getting, I'm like, and gosh knows what I'm going to be like when I go back with this screen that has not been used at all.
You're going to have to start like remembering like what's on the back of your conditioner bottle and stuff like that, just to start training your brain again.
I will. Honestly, I will. I'm not even joking.
Is it quite thrilling being on a show like that where the turnaround is so fast?
Yeah, because people say to you, you know, oh, what do you prefer? Do you prefer theatre? Do you prefer TV? Well, they're both so different. Because theatre, you've got that instant, you know, the applause, and that buzz of the live audience. Well, you know, we did, and hopefully we will very soon again. Yeah. With TV, you sort of wait till it comes on the television, whether you choose to watch that, you know, or not yourself.
Do you ever watch yourself?
Yeah, I do. I won't lie, I do. Because I know a lot of people go, oh gosh, no, I can't bear it. But no, I do watch it. And I do watch it myself and I go, oh my God, look at the state of that facial expression, or look at my hair. You know what I mean? So I'm not watching going, oh gosh, I was so good in that, or whatever. I'm like, oh no, what do I look like? You know, it's very... quite, you know, self-critical there. But yeah, it is a buzz when it, like you say, when it is so fast like that, and especially if you've got a big sort of an emotional, maybe two-hander, and then you start to watch it in one take, and they go, "Yeah, we got it," and you go, "Oh, thank goodness for that," because probably won't be able to cry again. Do you know what I mean? So,
because I feel like being on a job like that, like I've read that you sort of say that it's like a great sort of community in Emmerdale, but you must sort of like get to know everyone. Like I would absolutely love to do a soap, because I feel like it would be so much fun, because you get to know everyone, and it'd be like, oh, you're in a little gang, and you like, is it really fun? Is it a nice place to go to work?
It is. It massively is. But because there's so many in the cast,
oh yeah, sure,
you don't tend to see a lot of people, just the ones that you're working with.
Yeah.
Unless it's big party or wedding scenes or funerals, like in the Woolpack, or maybe there's a lot of traffic. That's the only time you do get to see them. Just to go in the green room and be like, oh my goodness, I'm literally not seeing you for like 5 or 6 months. Because unless sometimes you might pass the corridor, or if there's 3 units in, someone might be on another unit in the makeup room, and you'll be like, oh, hi, how are you doing? Not seen you forever. And yeah, it is strange, but
this isn't a podcast about asking how soaps work, but I am using it as that, and I hope that's okay. I'm genuine. I'm really interested. Do you have could there be like a scene going on in the Woolpack and then another one going on in another part of the village and one going on somewhere else, and things all being shot at the same time?
Oh, absolutely. I'll give you now a little taster of maybe one day, and this would be like a dead busy day. So
okay,
there could be 3 units on at the same time. Maybe a typical morning, I would go into makeup at 7 o'clock. Because I need an hour.
Don't we all?
Get your costume on set at 8 o'clock with one director in the Woolpack, maybe for 2 scenes. Then the AD will come up, the assistant director, and be like, okay, you're needed in the village, and you know this already, but they're just reminding you to sort of get a move on because they're waiting. So you're needed in makeup at the village, because it could be a different hairstyle, different makeup, different costume will be waiting. So that'll be maybe in 45 minutes. So you to get straight in your car or a lift, whichever you prefer. I like to drive myself, quite independent that way. I just love getting in my car and just driving off. Get into the village. You've got another director.
So how far is it between these 2 places?
In the car, it takes about 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
That's mad that it's so sprawling.
Yeah. And if you hit it, if it's at like school time, 3 o'clock, we've got quite a few little primary schools around the studios. You're just stuck in traffic and you're like, oh my God, I'm sorry, I might be a little bit late here. But then it doesn't finish there. You could finish your scene in the village outside the cafe, for example, and then you're needed on the third unit back at studio, again, different hair and makeup, with a third director in maybe your house, in your living room. And that could be one day, and you've been to 3 different locations with 3 different directors, 3 different looks.
That is full on.
Yeah, and none of it's in like order. So
Of course.
you've got to know you've got to do your homework. It's not just a matter of turning up, you know.
Could you be doing like the aftermath of a massive row before you've had the row?
Without a shadow of a doubt, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do, I tell you what Emmerdale are good at, they do tend to, if you've got, say, a couple of days of really emotional stuff, if scheduling can and if it permits, they will do it in order just for your journey. Do you know what I mean? To go through. But it might be that there's another actor that we're waiting from a different unit, so we can't do that scene. So it is changed around. I don't know how the scheduling department does it. I don't know. It's unbelievable.
It sounds fun.
It is. It's fun. It's hard work. It's brilliant.
Yeah, of course.
You know, you get close to people, and I've got quite a few, you know, best mates there, and it's lovely. Yeah. It's really lovely.
So was acting always like the thing you wanted to do as like a teenager or younger? Were you?
Yeah, always, definitely as a teenager. The first thing I wanted to be was a hairdresser when I was about 4 years old. Then sort of I realised people started talking about like people could get knits and things, so that was straight out of the window for me. And then like I joined the local sort of church group for doing a pantomime, and then I loved it. I think the first time I was ever on stage, I'm not a dancer now by any stretch of the imagination, but I went to a dance class and I was on stage and I was 4, and I entered a competition and I sang I've Got No Strings by Pinocchio. It was in Pinocchio. I've Got No Strings. I had a song but I didn't win because there was a little boy who sang All the Nice Girls Love a Sailor, and he won it. So I was like, I think I came second or something.
You got a good idea of what the industry's like from 4. You were like,
this is cutthroat. This is
tough old game.
Yeah.
And so getting a part in the Royal Court at 17, that's like, so you didn't go off to drama school or anything like that. You just got cast.
Yeah, honestly, I was going to go to drama school and everything. I put my applications in, I had auditions, but I just kept working, which, I mean, that for me, that was just my drama school. Do you know what I mean?
For sure, yeah.
It work experience, essentially. So what happened was, after school, I went to Park Lane College in Leeds and I resat some GCSEs that I didn't pass at school. And because I liked talking quite a lot at school.
Sure. Look, I had similar things.
I was easily distracted. And I met a girl who was like a mate, and she just said, oh, if you love acting, she said, there's a great place near us, and should I attend? It's called Scala Kids. Now, this Scala Kids was like a performing arts group, and I went along, and lovely Lynn Walker, who runs it still now, she took me on and sent me off for all these auditions. So she was like my child agent in a way, even though I was like 16, 17. And yeah, I went for, initially it was at the West Yorkshire Playhouse. There was about 200 girls, and we played games and things and improvisation. And then my mum was like going, you're not going to get it, so it's fine. You can go for these auditions, because all she could think of was me living in London for 3 months at 17.
Yeah.
Not a chance. But then I kept getting recalled, and my mum was going, what's happening here? And she's like, are you actually good? Because my mum was like, they're not pushy parents. They would just let me get on with it. Do you know what I mean? And then, I had to go for the final recall down to the Royal Court. And then I got the phone call saying you'd been cast.
What was the play?
It was called Land of the Living, and there was only 4 of us in it. So there was Suzi Ruffel, who's now in Corrie, played Debbie Webster, and Lorraine Ashbourne, who's married to Andy Serkis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and then there was another girl who was my age, and I was playing the younger version of Suzi Ruffel. And it was the Royal Court. It's a theatre upstairs, and it was, 4-hander. And it was incredible. And I put on about a stone in weight when I came back. So I was just eating takeaways and things.
And what was it like? Was it exciting to be in London?
Yeah, it was fabulous, and they'd got myself and the other girl who was the same age as me. They'd got us like a little flat that where was it? Westbourne Park Villas.
Yeah, Westbourne Park, yeah.
Yeah, and my mum and dad dropped me off, and my mum was just horrified, like leaving me in because we didn't have mobile phones
No,
in '93. We didn't have them, and I had the time of my
I
life.
bet.
It was wonderful, and I remember me and Sarah, that was the actress who I lived with, and we used to stay in bed all day, and we'd watch Home and Away, and then after Home and Away, that was when we knew we had to get up, showered, and we'd make it in time for the tube to get to the theatre for the show, and then we'd just live all night.
Oh,
It was great.
yeah, I bet that was so much fun. And then after that, did you keep working?
So yeah, so after that, then I actually went to back to Parkland College and did the BTEC Performing Arts course.
Hmm.
And that was 2 years, and that's when I moved on to an adult agent then, so because obviously I couldn't go for the roles of the kids anymore and
Yeah.
stuff, and that's when I got my first audition for Heartbeat as a guest artist, got that role, and then it's a great story actually. I met Sally Ann Matthews, who plays Jenny Bradley in
Hmm.
Coronation Street.
Hmm.
She was in that episode of Heartbeat with me. Now, she went for an interview with Northern Broadsides for this part, and Barry Rutter, who was a director, he just said, "Oh, sorry, love," he went, "You just look too old for the part." So Sally Ann said,
Cutthroat industry.
no, honestly, and because I think he wanted like 19, 20, and she was, probably like 25, something ridiculous, like not older at all.
Yeah.
But Sal, bless her, we'd just been on holiday to Anglesey to her mum's caravan, and she went, "Oh well," again before mobile phones. She went, "Well, if I'm not right," she went, "What about my mate? She's an actress." Pulled out a picture of me, and he went, "Oh, go on then, I'll see her." So I got in touch with my agent, and then the rest is history. I got on with Northern Broadsides.
That's brilliant.
But then when we did Romeo and Juliet, I said to Barry Rutter, I went, "Get my mate Sal in for one of these parts." And so like she did, and we went on tour together. It was great. So
Oh, that's so much fun.
yeah, it was brilliant.
It's so sad that like theatre's not happening at the moment, but
Ugh.
for a while it feels like touring theatre has been sort of, you sort of go to places where the theatres aren't running anymore, and it feels so sad that like we seem to be losing that part. Maybe after COVID, people will go, "Do you know what? I really want to support my local theatre. I'm going to go and watch stuff." I really hope that people really get behind, because like as a stand-up, we often go and play theatres like on Sunday nights when they're dark. So
Uh-huh.
quite often I've done a tour show in front of someone else's set,
Yeah.
which actually you can usually get a few gags out of.
Yeah, of course. I remember John Clare did that in Liverpool when we were doing, I think it was at the Everyman. Yeah, we were doing a show, and we went to see her, and we had all our set behind her. We were going, "Oh,
Yeah.
funny."
Yeah, I've done it in front of, I think I did it in front of the Wicked Witch's castle for a pantomime once, and was just like, I
Brilliant.
was like, "Can I use the stairs to come in?" They were like, "Yeah, if you want." I was like, "Brilliant, okay."
That's my entrance sorted.
Yeah, brilliant. I never get an interest. You usually just walk on as a stand-up. That's great. But yeah, I really hope that after all this, people go, "Oh, do you know what? I really want to support local theatres." And
Yeah, I think they will. I've got a really good
I
feeling.
hope so.
I think they will.
Yeah. And I think hopefully people will be really, once everyone's safe and once everyone feels all right, they'll be really excited to go out and experience stuff.
Just even like we have this little thing on a Friday night downstairs, and we have a Friday night kitchen disco, and just listening to music and play, and it's just dancing around. It's just,
Yeah.
oh, it's gorgeous. We put
Yeah.
the lights on, and we're like, cannot wait to be out in a theatre with live music, and oh
Yeah,
gosh.
it'd be great. Yeah, can you
Yeah.
imagine? We were listening to the radio the other day, and a song came on from Come From Away, which is a musical in town. It's brilliant. It's a really great show. And they were playing a song from that on, I think, like Elaine Page's show on a Sunday.
Mm.
And I said to Alice, my partner, I said, "Can you imagine like being in a theatre and hearing the instruments, when they warm up, like,
Yes.
when you're walking in?" I was like, that feels
Oh.
so exciting to be able to like just,
Yes. And then the lights go down and the overture starts.
and everyone
you're
goes
like,
quiet. Yeah, it's so
Yeah, oh,
exciting.
amazing.
It's so exciting. So when you were at, when you were sort of doing the maybe let's go back to like school. When you were at school, did you realise that you maybe weren't straight, or were you aware that did you know that then?
I had no idea at school. I genuinely didn't. And I had boyfriends through school. that I'm still mates with now. Talking about 11 and 12 years old, when you have boyfriends, and so I had no idea. But then it is funny because when I look back now at that time and I go, okay, well, I was about 12 years old when I first watched Grease 2 and went, okay, yeah, I'm liking what I see here with Stephanie Zanoni. And that's when I discovered Michelle Pfeiffer and sort of was like, just everything about her was amazing. Equally, I had posters on my wall of Kylie and Jason, but looking back, it was Kylie that I'd probably be more drawn to. But then you sort of think, at the time, I was probably thinking, well, maybe it's because do I want to be like them? Or do you know what I mean? It's all very confusing. But I think looking back now that the signs were there, I probably weren't open to them, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So no, I had no idea. Even when I was in London at 17, still not, I didn't know. And that was 93. That was about the time when it was on Brookside, wasn't it? With
yes. Yeah. Anna Friel, yeah.
Yeah. And then it was when I then went to college. I met someone at college and I was like, oh, okay, this feels a bit different. These feelings I've got towards this person and I wanted to be in their company all the time. And then, had my first 2-year relationship with a woman when I was 18,
Oh, so you were quite sort of young still, being a teenager,
Yeah, I was, 2 years. And then, but then I did not come out to anybody, it was all really, it was still,
so was it a secret?
Massive secret. Massive secret. After that ended, it was like I was going on tour then, so that was about 96 when that ended, and that's when I threw myself into touring life and didn't really have to answer, because every time it was like, any family members maybe at parties would be like, any boyfriends on the scene? It was just so easy to say, oh, I'm too busy because I'm working, I don't get a chance to meet people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
There was a lot of that going on. And then when I did have boyfriends, I tried to sort of make myself feel like what I'd felt when I was at college, but it was never happening. So relationships literally lasted 2 months because I'd get out of it before it got in too deep, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally.
So it was really, really hard, and I didn't have another relationship with a woman like till sort of late 20s.
And were you away working all that time? Was that like, because it's funny that you say that, because we've had like other people that I've interviewed on the show, and that's come up quite a few times, that like just throwing yourself into work and being like, well, I haven't got time for anything.
It was just easy to say it like that. And I was on tour every year because I sort of stuck with this theatre company. So every year they'd do maybe 2 shows, productions that would take us all over, if not over the world, over Europe, certainly, and certainly in the UK. So that's why I didn't sort of get on the property ladder, because I didn't need to. My base was just my mum and dad's house still. And then I'd pop back at weekends whenever I could. But it was just like, right, quick washing of the clothes, no questions asked, and then I'm off again. And and then I'd be buzzing talking about the show, about all my friends that I'd met, and so it was never really spoken about. I was in my head, it was like a huge relief that it wasn't, because I just didn't want to answer any questions. But then when I was on the Royal, I sort of got a bit more confident I was beginning to realise who I was, and I started opening up to people at work. So a lot of my colleagues knew, but I'd still not told my family. But that used to really, I used to struggle with that, because I'd be like, hang on, all these people know, but yet the people who mean the most to me, they don't know.
Well, there's more to lose from a bad reaction, isn't there?
Without a shadow of a doubt.
So it's scarier.
Yeah, and I was 29 years old when it all happened, and I didn't even voluntarily come out. I'd never forget, I'd been on, it was the 4th of November, and I'd been on a photo shoot with some of the girls from the Royal, and I came back home and I was feeling ace. I was all this lovely makeup. Well,
it was a big show, the Royal, wasn't it?
It really was, yes. Spin-off from Heartbeat. We had Wendy Craig as the matron. I played Dizzy Lizzie, the receptionist.
You can really deliver a funny line, mate.
Oh, because she was so dizzy, yet with that absolute heart of gold, and there was never any malice in her. But because the lines were so ridiculous, you had to play it so truthfully, otherwise it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, of course.
you know that more than anyone, do you know what I mean? And it's like, oh gosh, she was an absolute delight. Because I didn't even audition for her at first. I auditioned for a nurse. And then they brought me back when I think you'd be better off as the Disney one. I was like, what does that say about me?
Oh God, did I get the medical stuff wrong?
You know, I couldn't say stethoscope properly, maybe I don't.
Sorry, you were saying you were on a photo shoot.
So I was on a photo shoot, and I came back home. Again, I was still living with my mum and dad, and I got home feeling all dead lovely. And my dad was at home, and he's like, "You all right?" I said, "Oh yes, thanks you." Small talk, and then he just went, "I've got something to ask you anyway." And I don't know how, or I knew in that instance that my dad was going to ask me if I was gay. I knew it. I knew. And in my head was spinning. I was thinking, "What do I lie? Do I just come out with it? What do I do?" And I knew, and my blood ran cold. And I just went, "Oh, why? What's the matter?" And he said, "Oh, someone I work with." It is a massive coincidence. I don't know how or what. I've never really asked questions, but he said somebody I work with makes deliveries at ITV, and he just said to me, "Oh, your daughter works at ITV, doesn't she?" And my dad said, "Oh, yeah. Yes, she does on the Royal." And his mate said, "Oh, yeah, the lesbian." And my dad went, "Not as far as I know, mate." And I just looked at my dad and I burst into tears and was just saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, Dad. I'm sorry, I am. I can't help it. I am." And he just held me and I was just crying on him, just saying, I just remember saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I can't help it." It was the words "I can't help it" that I just kept saying. And he just said, "It's all right." He said, "Stop." He said, "It's all right." And he said, and then, after I'd calmed down, he just said, "The thing that hurts me the most is you couldn't tell us, that you didn't think you could tell us." And I was like, but I didn't want to, you and my mum are the most important people in my life. And I just said I didn't want to disappoint you, or I didn't want you feeling, let down, or I didn't know how you'd react. And he was like, "Disappoint us? Are you kidding?" And he said, "I'll tell your mum," and he said, "Do you want me to sort everything?" And he did. It was amazing.
Oh, bless him.
My dad, this wonderful burly Yorkshire bloke who was an ex-boxer, and he was just took me in his arms, and I was his little girl again, and everything was fantastic. And yeah,
the weight, the relief after that must have been huge.
It was unreal. And then he was going, "So and so and so and so." I was like, "Yep. She was a girlfriend," and it was like, "Oh, they weren't just mates." I was like, "No," because they said they had no idea, because I've not given them any cause to think. But then wonderfully, my grandma, who was, she's passed now, she was my best friend in the whole world. And we lost her 3 years ago, and she was 93. And she went, "I knew." I didn't want to say anything until you told me, but I knew. I was like, "Grandma," and she didn't have a problem. My other grandma, who's still with us, absolutely no problem whatsoever. And I think, sometimes just don't give them credit, credit, the old generation. And I know I'm lucky, and not everyone's the same.
Totally, yeah. I had such a similar experience with my nan. I was really close to my nan, and she died about 4 years ago. I was so frightened of telling her. And in the end, my auntie told her, because she's like that. She was like, "I'll sort it out. I'll just tell her." And Nan was like, she was like, "All right, love, I don't care. I still love you as much as I did yesterday." And it was like, and she was the one that I've got a picture of her right in front of me now. She was the one that I was so scared that I would be this disappointment, or that she wouldn't be able to tell her friends about me or whatever. Like, no, she was, I think sometimes, not all, obviously. And I think, as you say, we're both quite lucky that we had experiences like that with our nans. But I think often when you've been through, like, she'd lived through a war, I think she was like, "Yeah, I can deal with this." Like, she was in the Blitz in Portsmouth with all the bombs. Like, I think she was like, "Yeah, I can deal with having a gay granddaughter. I think we'll be all right."
Thank God for our lovely grandmas. Do you know what I mean? Because they made it all fine.
Yeah,
they made everything fine, and it was a huge relief.
Because that, like, the next day after that must have just been like having to hold that secret, and it feeling like not that being gay is a burden, but it feeling like a burden for so long. Like, the next morning when you woke up, you must have felt like a new person.
Oh, absolutely. And it was my cousin's 18th, and we had a massive big family party, and I just remember thinking, okay, I wonder who knows, because my dad said he would just going to tell people. I was like,
God, it's handy having someone like your dad about. Just deal with it. Just deal with it, Dad.
Michelle's gay anyway, so but it was great because I was with all my family, and yeah, nobody batted an eyelid, and look where I am now, married with a beautiful son, and it's just, yeah, it's fabulous. And I just think, gosh, I was 29, and if my dad hadn't have said that, God knows when I'd have done it, because that wasn't it wasn't me going, right, I'm going to do it today, I'm going to have the courage to do it. It wasn't. It took out of my hands, really, and I was 29.
Yeah.
I just felt like I couldn't.
No, and I think loads of people, like, that listen to the show will totally align with that, and might be in a similar situation to what you were in then, and really understand that. And I think that's the thing. I think, like, it's got to be the right moment for you. You can't force yourself. You can't do it. You can't force yourself out of the closet, because, you might leave yourself feeling much worse.
Exactly. You've got to be ready. And that's what I think, because I don't know how, but I knew that question was coming. And in that split second, I just made that decision. It was like, yeah, I'm just going to, this is it. It's now or never, and I just collapsed into a heap and got scooped up in his wonderful big arms, and it was all wonderful. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. And then I read that you didn't feel like you needed to sort of come out publicly until you were in Emmerdale. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right, because I was still in the Royal then at that time. And
how long did the Royal run?
Gosh, was it 8 series, I think. We did it from 2002 to 2008, but we got a couple of series in the first one.
Right, okay.
So yeah, we did about 8, I think it was about 8 series altogether.
Fun.
Yeah, oh God, it was just amazing, because it was a disused hospital in, part of a disused hospital in Bradford for the interior, and then the exterior was in Scarborough, so you'd have 1 week of the month just on a jolly in Scarborough, and it was brilliant.
That sounds great.
Such good fun. It really was.
I bet.
But yeah, and then I just thought to myself, I thought the audience really of the Royal, I'm not going to lend myself by coming out now when the audience is, probably like maybe over 50 or over 60, and I just didn't feel, for me, it was the right time. And I knew the Royal wasn't going to last forever. And then you don't know what's around the corner. And luckily for me, Emmerdale was literally just around the corner. And that's when I thought, oh, this is the platform now, when I'm going to be in people's living rooms nearly every night. And this is it.
Because people must feel like they know you.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Do you get that? Because when you're in a soap, like, you really feel like you know people. You must get that a lot.
Yeah, you do. Like, just going to the shops. Not so much now when you've got your masks on. It's not too bad. But when you do get people coming up to you and stuff. I remember I had a bloke coming up to me saying that he had a bad back. And I thought, I think he might think that I'm his doctor or something. Because I think sometimes they recognise you, but they can't remember where from, and they think maybe you're a receptionist or you work in the library or whatever. But yeah, I remember because I used to take my grandma shopping a lot when she was here, and she used to like just laugh, and she was so proud. But people would be like, she'd go, well, I only went out for some bananas, and now Michelle got, she would asked all the time if she can have a photo taken, and she loved it,
That's lovely though. I remember I was with my mum in a top shop, and someone said, can I have a photo with you? And my mum like immediately rang my auntie and went, you're not going to believe what's just happened. Suze, she's only just been asked for a photo in bloody Topshop. She couldn't get over it. It made her day.
No, it does, because, to them, and we're just normal, and it's the, little Suze, little Michelle. It's like, people do think that they know you. But yeah, for me, the platform then that Emmerdale has given me, it was like, and I spoke to our wonderful press team.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did you have to do that?
Yeah, and we said, let's do this in a really controlled environment. Mm-hmm. They chose someone who they trusted to do the interview and everything. And and it was great, and it was fantastic. The feedback was just, it was amazing. It was really good. It was so positive. It really was. It was the best thing I've ever done.
That's so great to hear.
But just here, and even now, because of like the storyline and stuff, because my character's, gay and everything, just the tweets and letters that I get from girls saying, oh gosh, just having you not only in the show but in real life, that you've helped me come out, because I've shown my mum and dad and gone, look, she's leading, a normal life, whatever normal is. Do you know what I mean? And it's because I think that part of when my mum found out, I think my mum was a bit like, she obviously accepted it and loves me to pieces, but I think it was the grandchildren thing with my mum. And it was like, oh, well, does that mean you're not going to have children? Like, well, I don't know yet, mum. I've literally just come out to you, so I've got no idea, But yeah, it is nice to receive all those letters and, like I say, messages, and knowing that you've helped so many people. Because that's my intention. Otherwise, there'd have been no point me coming out. Because if I'd have had somebody maybe when I was 18, 19, that, like, there was like maybe Ellen, but it wasn't out there. There wasn't social media back then for a start. Maybe that's a good thing, I don't know. But there wasn't anyone to look up to. Because it's not been a bed of roses since our little Teds has come along. Because we had a little social media break because we had a terrible comment on one of his pictures, telling me and Kate we'd burn in hell, and it's absolutely disgusting. It's wrong, and you're just like, oh really? In 2021, do what you want. Say what you want about me and Kate, or say what you want under a picture, but do not put it under a picture of our son. Because I never ever respond or retweet or whatever, but I did with that one, and I put it out there onto Twitter.
Yeah.
And then the response was fantastic, and
I saw it. I remember tweeting about it and stuff, because it's important that, first of all, I'm really sorry you had to experience that. That must have been such a fucking horrible day. Yeah. But it's so, when you expose, like, I think it's sometimes because those things happen, sometimes exposing them and letting, like, our straight mates or people that watch you that like you, and like, your sexuality means nothing to them, and as it should, but letting them know that, sometimes you have to, yes, as a queer person who's out in the world, sometimes you have to deal with this. It's quite good to go, that's my life, that's what it's like with it outside of this sort of media bubble.
Absolutely, that still goes on, and that's why when you do get those odd people that'll turn around and say, well, why do you still have gay pride, why do you need that? And you go, because of people like that. That's why we still need them, to normalise it as much as we can. Yeah. There are still people out there like that. Mm-hmm. Like I say, I don't normally do it, but when it was under a picture of Teddy, I was like, nah.
No, you got to stand up for him.
Yeah.
You're his mum. You got to do it.
You know what I mean? I know. Oh. This is the most longest I've ever been away from him. I'm like, oh.
I'll let you go in just a sec. Don't worry. Did the response from people sort of buoy you back up after having that negativity?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt.
Did you feel all right afterwards?
Yeah, you do, but people say, it's very easy for people to say, oh, but you had thousands of comments, positive ones. It's that one negative one, though, that you cannot get out of your mind.
Oh, of course. Yeah, totally.
And, whatever, if you say you do a theatre job, whatever, you have that a million brilliant reviews, when you have one person, one reviewer that slated your performance. Those other reviews mean nothing. Yeah. And it's that one that you keep dissecting, and you're like, well, who are they? What have they done before? And, and it was the same with this. And Kate and I just said, do you know what? And not necessarily because of that comment, but we said, let's just enjoy it. Let's just take a little Twitter and Instagram break. We're still on Facebook, because that's just family and friends,
Yeah.
And like, we've come back on it now, but we've not put any pictures yet of Ted on, but we will do, at some point.
Yeah, but when it feels right for you.
When it feels right, yeah. I'm not getting pushed into it or whatever.
No, so. Totally. Yeah. Well, I'm going to let you get back to Teddy. Let you go and have a squidge. But can I ask you one more question? It's a question I ask absolutely everyone that comes on the show. And you can sort of think of it as a version of yourself, maybe when you were touring around and you didn't allow yourself time to sort of come out, or you didn't allow yourself time to have a girlfriend. Or maybe, if you don't want to think of it as giving advice to yourself, maybe someone that's listening right now is in a similar position to what you were in. If you could give them a little bit of advice, or a little bit of like a hug across the distance, what would you say to them?
It's the same that I do always say, and if it was to myself, this would go to other people as well. Everything will work out in the end, and it does pain me to say that, like, our parent, our families have been fantastic, and I know not everybody's. But if I was to tell my 18, 19, 20-year-old self, give your mum and dad a bit more credit because they just love you for who you are, and everything will be fine.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're someone listening that maybe you don't think that your parents will react like that, and you might not, you'll find another family within the community somewhere. You'll find
Without a
you'll
shadow of
find
a
your
doubt.
people.
There's plenty of us about.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been an absolute joy. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Susie, thank you so much for having me. I've loved it.
Oh, this has been so great.
Let's do it again soon.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, next time I'm touring in Leeds, I'll get in touch and we'll sort of go for a drink or something.
Without a shadow of a doubt, we'll get you over at Emmerdale.
Oh my God, I would love that. I would genuinely love that. If you can,
Done deal.
if you can find a way for me to pull a pint in the wall pack, I'll be over the moon.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Oh, I loved that conversation so much. I really, really hope you did too.